The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 3,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 100 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Welcome to the March 31st edition of One Nation Radio. I am your host, Rich Latta, of course, here with my co-host, James Boyd. James, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just, I guess, how long did we spend, me and Simon, talking about, like, superhero movies?
At least a half hour.
A half hour just wasting your time talking about superhero movies. See, I'm telling you, man, you need to get in on this nerd endeavor, man.
Yeah, man. And joining us is from SportsKeeda.com, longtime contributor to One Nation Radio, Simon Cotton. Simon, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, just doing pretty good. I'd say I'm looking forward to WrestleMania this week, but yeah, I'll just let you continue from here.
Yep. We know better than to trust these folks. So here on this show, so make sure you guys are rating and viewing us on iTunes, Podbean, wherever you guys listen to us. Tell your friends about the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Check us out check out our friends rather at Powerslam.tv. The link is in the annotation. If you're a fan of independent professional wrestling, they have over 4,000 hours of footage from all around the globe. Use the code Social Suplex to get your free month's trial. Make sure you're picking up your Social Suplex merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/Social Suplex and checking out all the other shows here on the channel. Of course, One Nation Radio, Keepin It Strong Style, Grown Men Watch This Shit, The Ricky and Clive Show, and NXT Then Now Forever, and all things elite. Shouts out to Floyd Johnson, who gave us a big shout out this week. Said that he would put the intro of our show up against anything. And even if he disagrees with a lot of we say, I guess we still pop him. So what's up to Floyd? So yeah, y'all know what it is. It is time. It is time for the WrestleMania 35 preview. I always used to look forward to doing the WrestleMania preview shows, and then something's changed.
Was it WrestleMania 33?
So WrestleMania 33, we actually had like kind of a cool concept. Like we ran across all the top matches with, different, folks. Like I believe you joined us, right, Simon?
Yep. I had the honor of talking about Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Woo, what a match. So we invited different guests on and all that, and last year James had mentioned the calendar had crept up on us, and this year like it was kind of like, man, we just gonna do this shit like so. So overall, I guess before we get into the WrestleMania talk, we did get a question from Sir Sam that I said we would answer on the show. So he said, not sure if you guys are doing a Q&A this week, but here it goes anyway. What are the odds that they tried to shoehorn Kofi Kingston into a segment with Hulk Hogan?
The odds?
Yes.
WWE is dumb. they're not that dumb. I'm hoping they're not that dumb, I should say.
James?
I don't think of them necessarily as dumb as much as I think of them as shameless, opportunistic.
They have no level they will not stoop to.
And shameless. That's the other one.
Yeah.
So, I guess, I mean, I would say it's a non-zero possibility, but I don't know how high it is. But it's definitely not zero. It's definitely something above zero.
Yeah, we can't put anything past these folks. The only reason I say that is because, like, if they, like, look at what they've done and shown how much they care about with Hogan so far. It's like, no, we're gonna put him on the show. Like, there's no, like, real public apology, like no WWE kind of, like, you know, letting him sit down on the network or anything like that. We talked about that a lot before on the show, but there's just been these different instances, and I think they're going to use him how they use him, like, without regard for, you know, his mistakes and everything else so far. So it wouldn't shock me. I'll say that. So, like, my eyes are open for the foolishness pretty much wherever it comes from at this point when it comes to WWE and Hogan.
Yeah. And also, you can't forget that they also had the New Day present the Freebirds into the Hall of Fame. So, like, they've went out there and pulled out a black friend to go vouch for some people with checkered past before. So let's not act like they're above there. They never do such a thing.
Yeah. So I hope that answers the question, Sam. We would not be shocked. So if they do that, you had it first, and we kind of let you know it wouldn't shock us.
Like,
so.
Yeah, like real short, like the too long didn't read version. Like, if it happened, we'd be disappointed but not surprised.
Bingo. So let's go to the WrestleMania 35 Wikipedia page. We had some stuff go on this week, but I guess, you know, the preview is kind of takes priority over that. So we've got, let's start right at the top of the wiki page, which lists Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the WWE Universal Championship.
Where's the heat?
Now, I don't know, man, because, you know, this feud had a lot working against it. It had Seth Rollins with an injury that they didn't really want to reveal. So that took him away from being able to, you know, build momentum and beat guys on TV regularly.
But wait, Rich, the last match I saw him, he lost.
True.
Clean as the sheet.
True.
Off a distraction.
True. I'm getting there. So
okay,
they've reformed the Shield again after Roman Reigns came back, immediately putting him into, like, you know, second dude, you know, do boy status, essentially, like underling under Roman Reigns, and, you know, Lesnar's not gonna show up, and it's largely a worse version of what they did going into WrestleMania last year, because at least we got a lot of physicality with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Now I'm just thinking about it. Is when Roman came back after, like, his first week or after the second week back, and he asked second or third week back, and he asked Ross to come out, and he said, "Yeah, man, I need the Shield to be back together for one last run because Ambrose is leaving." Like, in retrospect, now I'm thinking about it. Isn't that like, oh yeah, I was in this shitty, terrible relationship in my 20s, but this person that was in my life, and we had all these in and outs over the years, whatever else. This person's moving across this country, and then he just like, yeah, man, like, we did a lot of shit, and we're definitely not meant for each other, and this is definitely diminishing returns. But, like, he leaving, so but he or she is leaving, so you know, we gonna, like, hang out one last time and fuck each other, and then like we'll never see each other again. That's almost like this whole entire situation. Like,
almost, that's exactly what it is.
It's like, yo, this is all bad.
Yeah.
Ain't no memories worth this.
I haven't been enthralled by the promos from each of these guys. Like, I've railed on Seth Rollins' bland personality over and over, pretty much going back a couple months now. And he inspires some of the audience, and that's kind of just, using the cheap heat of Lesnar's not there. I'm going to bring this title back, and you see it every week. But as I've mentioned, I might not be alone in this. I've written the Universal title off as a central storytelling piece in WWE. I don't care about that belt.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
The Universal Championship in general has just really not been a title that has been worth remembering.
Hey,
It was a stupid uglier copy of the WWE Championship when it was introduced after being hyped up for about a month. The first guy who wins the title gets injured in his match and he can't defend it, so it needs to be vacated. Yep. Then Kevin Owens wins it, who has some credibility, but he was a worse champion than Seth Rollins was with the WWE title the year before, because at least Seth Rollins picked up some wins before he vacated the belt. Kevin Owens, literally every pay-per-view match he ever had, Chris Jericho helped him. And the one time Chris Jericho didn't help him, he lost. And then the next champion, Goldberg, who was probably the best champion so far. And then Brock Lesnar holds the title for a year. He has 2 good matches, and the rest are just bad. Then Roman Reigns holds the title, and he has to vacate the title because of cancer.
Did he defend it one time?
Roman Reigns defended the belt twice. He defended against Finn Balor on Raw, and then he had that horrible Hell in a Cell match.
I forgot about the Finn Balor match. So yeah.
I'm waiting for the theory that this title is cursed.
It is.
Oh yeah, it's been.
We've been talking about this.
It's been cursed.
So for Seth, to kind of them leaning on that lesser version of Reigns, pretty much what they did with Lesnar last year. They haven't taken it as far to have Lesnar show up to house shows and do 30-second matches to infuriate people and all that. It's just
and to be fair, they've done a lot. They've embarrassed Seth a lot less than they embarrassed Roman last year in that whole build up. They made Roman like a dumbass all throughout that whole build.
Man, I documented that entire build on my Anchor podcast, and literally without fail, every week Roman Reigns either said something ridiculously contradictory or stupid, like Brock Lesnar's Vince McMahon's boy. Yeah,
right.
Like a whole bunch of WrestleMania main event that says the 3-time world champion, the what's the term for when you win everything? The Grand Slam champion, and you've done all this in your first 4 careers. Yeah, you ain't in the same boat. Shut your ass up.
Me and Rance had got into it at one time. It's that's a cool thing to come out with, and that's a cool point of discussion to make up or come up with. But you have to be cognizant of who is saying it or whatever else. In a vacuum, that's a cool thing to come up with. But when you're Roman Reigns, not so much. And honestly, even with Seth Rollins, Seth Rollins is he's not at the level of the way they've pushed Roman, but he's probably the notch right below that. So it's so that's a little bit cooler, but it's still it's dude, you're a fucking Grand Slam champion. You were in one of the greatest factions in this company's history. You've been protected and you've been given stuff to do that has mattered, almost throughout your entire solo run. You had a lot better than 98% of the roster as far as this. And it's they haven't gone to the part where he's Vince's boy, but they've gone to the part of Brock is entitled, and I'm going to, be the person to stand up for. I'm going to be the proxy for the fans' frustration with a part-time champion, and that's cool. But I've seen it done before. I wasn't that crazy about it the first time. Seen it again. They haven't done anything more. They haven't really done much smarter with it. So it's kind of I'm just left lukewarm on the whole entire situation. And it's supposed to be It's supposed to be a headlining match for WrestleMania. I'm just oh yeah, this is something that I'd be cool with as the third pay-per-view or the third pay-per-view match on I don't know, Battleground or some shit.
Yeah, and they haven't played at all on any of their prior history. I can't even think that they've said something about WrestleMania 31. You stole the belt from me, anything,
Royal 2015.
Right? Nothing. Nope. You've been in the ring with me before, and whatever.
Right. They're not playing on that at all because they don't want to. Because if you go back to that level or that time, you also have to acknowledge that, or maybe you have to acknowledge that, like that Battleground 2015 match where he beats the piss out of Seth for a few minutes until Undertaker comes out of nowhere and dick kicks Brock. Like, I think that's the reason. I think that might be a reason why they're staying away from it. Or is it typical? They don't want you to remember that they did this shit before.
Yeah. So predictions. I've been on you guys. You already know where I'm going with this. I think Brock Lesnar is retaining and going to Saudi Arabia as the champion.
Oh no. Not again. I'm not doing this another year.
He might even defend the belt against Undertaker, bitch.
Oh my god.
Oh shit.
If that
Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. WWE Saudi Showdown or something like that.
The last time I even entertained the idea of the Undertaker as WWE champion was when people were talking about Punk versus Undertaker in a streak versus
the
championship match. That was the only time. And even then it was ridiculous because everybody was like, oh, he can vacate the title the next night. What's the point of him?
Right.
Like, I don't want to see the Undertaker on TV ever again. He can come up on WrestleMania and chokeslam some joke or some lame. Let him chokeslam EC3 or something. Elias. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to see him in the match ever again. He needs to be the guy. He needs to be the guy who makes special appearances on Raws and SmackDowns and pay-per-views of note. He does not need to have another match. If Brock Lesnar retains just to fight an old guy,
I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know anything. I haven't like parroted this from anyone else, but I'm like, I know the Undertaker's wrestling the Saudi Arabia show, right? So I don't know what else they do with him, but
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that Seth Rollins wins because I don't think they're stupid enough to do the same thing twice. But then again, they are. But I'm just hoping that Seth Rollins is the champ because they need that title off Brock if they want to ever do something substantial with it.
James,
because we know nobody else is really gonna pin him like that.
James?
Oh yeah, I think Brock's winning. I think we're gonna get one of those situations where he re-signs in the 11th hour again, and I think they're gonna have a good match. I think the crowd is actually going to be into this match and not shit on it like they did last year in historical fashion.
Yeah.
But storyline wise, this isn't it for me. Like for me, it's like you have two very talented people in the ring, and like their potential matchup is what actually was getting me to actually give any bit of a damn about this match, not like their storyline. The storyline is just
Real quick before we move on, what if they pull a WrestleMania 32 of this?
What do you mean?
Remember when Brock Lesnar wrestled Dean Ambrose for like 10 minutes and beat him with one F5?
Oh
it
my
can happen.
God!
Oh, you mean in a no holds barred or street fight or whatever the hell it was, or no DQ match?
A don't care-a-thon.
Yeah, that could happen. But that could happen. Like, but yeah, I have no reason to believe that Seth's going to win the title.
Yeah.
And then even like if he wins the title, then what?
Well, he obviously defends it against
Drew
the biggest
McIntyre
stars on WWE.
Nah,
like McIntyre and Jinder Mahal.
Oh my God! And Baron Corbin.
Oh,
You know, he's got a stellar lineup here.
Hey! Don't be talking about the next challenger for the SmackDown title after WrestleMania. Don't do that.
Wow.
They finna do it. They finna have Kofi Corbin. I can see that. I've been thinking about that for like a few days. Like, watch.
Oh my God.
I'm dry heaving right.
And be like, the Kofi thing, it didn't work out because it just he doesn't have it. Motherfucker, you put him in the room, Baron Corbin. You expect that shit to draw.
That shit will flop. But yeah, up next, Ronda Rousey, the Raw Women's Champion, defending the Raw Women's title against Becky Lynch, the 2019 Royal Rumble winner, and the new SmackDown Women's Champion, Charlotte. They added her last name back, Flair.
Her name's been back for a while now. Like, at least it feels like over a year.
Yeah. So, it's been a long, crooked road to get here. This is going to be the main event of the show. And
okay, it's been a long road, but they're not on the road anymore. Like they're in a cornfield. Like they're
they ran this shit off the road. They broke the track.
They've been put this shit in the ditch.
They're stranded in the desert. The RV's tipped over. They tying the shirt on their heads, trying to keep cool and all that other craziness.
They trying to call AAA to come out there and rescue them. Like, and AAA being the match that's actually going to happen finally. We've been all over, we've covered this feud extensively. We've documented the peaks, we've documented the lows, and where we're at now. We have one more week with it. Of course, it ends up in them being a team, which no one under the sun wants to see. But overall, I think this was a failure. As far as inspiring interest in the match, they've had to resort to breaking kayfabe really badly to get Ronda any type of anything, right? Charlotte has been a case where it's like they've tried to cool Becky Lynch down to a certain extent and then drag Charlotte on and heat, as much kind of heat on her as they can, but at the same time, turning Ronda into the heel to steal the heat from Charlotte too. So it's like, man, I always wanted it to be a one-on-one match. I always thought it was a better match. I thought it was just, it's competitive business. Y'all out here trying to do all this multi-person shit to quote-unquote give the rub to multiple people and all that, but only one person is ultimately going to be involved in the fall. So I don't know I wish this could have went a lot better.
I wrote a column last week, almost immediately after Charlotte won the title, just talking about how they have completely overbooked this storyline. It should have not been a difficult road to get here. They have their history from Survivor Series and everything leading up to that show. Ronda attacks them both at the TLC pay-per-view. The Royal Rumble happens the way it happens. It should have been the easy and simple way to get to the triple threat match. Instead, we have the McMahons interjecting themselves into a storyline less than a month after they promised they were done injecting themselves into storylines. We have Ronda Rousey.
Oh, wait. It was 2 months. It was 8 weeks. I know. I have it documented. It was because it took them 4 weeks to start fucking with fucking with Braun in his title match at the Royal Rumble, and then it was for another 4 weeks after that is when Vince brought his ass out there and put Charlotte in the match and says "fuck you, Becky." So it was 8 weeks. Sorry.
Right. So 8 weeks after they say, "Oh, we're done injecting ourselves. We're the authority." Yeah, we ain't asked for none of this. We get to fast lane, just double count out, double count out, a double pin. It's one of these goofy things that they love doing. In any other situation, they love doing this. But they're gonna have Ronda come out here and just clock Becky in the mouth for whatever she did. And
they have Becky. You try to make this shit make sense. Where it's like, yeah, I tricked Ronda into doing that. Like, no, you didn't. And this is before you get to the fake injury angles they created. Had Becky hobbling around. Like, man, James, save this shit.
You want me to save it? Like the conversation we're having right now about this, or like you want me to make what the nonsensical make sense that they told us?
Make it make sense.
Oh my god. All right, so
you the GOAT if you manage.
Oh, I'm not even going to attempt to. I'm just going to just
never mind. Just go ahead. Yeah. What did you think about this whole thing, James?
Yeah, man. They turned something that was white hot into something that was mid. I mean, I don't know how to. I mean, I still want to see the match because it's going to be a great match between the three. But it's like they clearly, by watching this thing, you could tell that they clearly did not have a game plan for what they were trying to accomplish. They were just trying to do shit, and I mean that's part of the faulty storytelling the downfall of the company at times is their long-term storytelling is piss. And not even warm piss, like cold piss. So, yeah, and this was another victim of it. Like Charlotte. I'm sorry, Becky wins a bunch of matches while Charlotte is kind of put on the back burner and cashed in on and injured at different points, missing time. She goes on a win streak. She starts putting away people in the middle with her move. She won like 8 straight matches with her move in the middle of the ring in the middle of last year. It's coming up on SummerSlam time. She gets a title shot against Carmella. Charlotte gets parachuted in to be the third person added to the match. Charlotte wins. Becky is furious and turns on her friend. People like Becky more than Charlotte because duh. They try to fight people left and right for weeks and weeks and weeks, even though whether they're in Toronto or they're in Louisiana or wherever else, or the UK, and there's still people chanting for Becky. Even as far as Raw 1000, they were trying to get Becky the heel heat. Like Edge told us as much on I believe it's Inside the Ropes. We're saying like the direction was they did all that to try to get Becky heat for making fun of Edge's neck. Didn't work. They tried to bring in the NXT history and say that she ruined the sanctity of the performance center. For Jesus Christ,
my fucking
for
God.
fuck's sake. That didn't work.
You had Road Dogg getting on Twitter telling her what the story was being told.
Yeah, it's like
Becky cutting people promos.
It's like, no, you guys told a story that you didn't realize you were telling, and then it blew up in your face because you guys are out of touch. So, so then from there you have they decide, you know what, this is low stakes. This isn't Roman Reigns. This is Charlotte. Like, we love Charlotte, but like we're not just going to fight this. And they decided to like ease up on the heel on trying to turn Becky heel because there's no need to. There were so many weeks away from WrestleMania that is like, what's the point of like ruining our potential opponent for Ronda at WrestleMania with this nonsense? Even though it's like, okay, we see what's ahead of us. Like, if Ronda's gonna have a match for WrestleMania against somebody and it's gonna be a main event, chances are Charlotte, and given how you presented both of them, chances are Ronda's gonna be the babyface so far. So, and Charlotte has never been a good babyface. So how about we just turn Charlotte heel now? She's a dick to her friend and we hate her guts. And then she goes to WrestleMania and fights babyface Ronda. That would have worked. No, we can't do that because that would have made sense. So we're gonna have them basically both be, baby faces. They go to Evolution. Becky gets rid of Charlotte. So then it leaves you to champion versus champion for Survivor Series. And you have Becky, who's the hottest baby face in the company after the match of the year, against Ronda. So they set that up. They make Becky like the biggest star in the company. And then, she got her nose broken. So they missed out on an opportunity. So they say, you know what? We're just going to throw Charlotte in there to have the match that may have been the WrestleMania main event. We're just going to throw it out there and just give it to Survivor Series. They have a great match. And they end up doing like apparently the same finish they were going to do with Becky, which makes me think like, all right, well, if that was the plan, when was Ronda going to get her comeuppance on Becky?
Never.
And the only it's like that's exactly what the answer was going to be. It's going to be never because like they whatever. So or people will be like, well, maybe the plan was they had changed their mind and they were actually going to go with Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania or Royal Rumble, and it's like, okay, if that were true, then why didn't they do that with Becky and Charlotte? I'm sorry, with Ronda and Charlotte at another match. They never had another match. That happened. She got her ass whooped. They moved on, and they did the TLC finish where Ronda screws over both of them, which is like, okay, I can see that. Like, okay, so all three of them have smoke with each other. That makes perfect sense. And since that moment, we had Becky tap out in the middle of the ring clean to Asuka for no reason. What has now turned out to be no reason. We had Becky win the Rumble, even though she had lost in the title match, which is like, if you look at where we are now, it would have been more beneficial if Charlotte had won the title, then been a champion for months, kept hiding from Becky, Becky was conflicted and for weeks did not know who she was going to fight. Like, is she going to finally get her match and fight for the glory against Ronda, or is she going to go back and fight for, or go get this title that she's been fighting for with Charlotte for, what was the main roster feud of the year last year? Like, that would have been cool. It comes down to wire, and then she makes a decision. It turns out there's something happens, and then like Vince or Shane or whoever else comes out and is like, you know what? Actually, both titles in line. It's a 3-way. Run that. They didn't do none of that. They did all of this other convoluted nonsense where, like, Charlotte goes from, after having that match with Ronda in Survivor Series, like, she won on TV like that following week's TV on SmackDown, and then she goes from like November 24th to just this
late
Tuesday,
March, yeah.
without winning a single fucking match on TV or pay-per-view. Becky has been injured for like 7 weeks, or was for like 7 weeks, just limping around, not doing much. They decided to turn Ronda heel. What was that 5? Was that 5? No,
about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And she's a killer.
They finally like acquiesced because that shit was coming from Survivor Series.
And then you come to find out, or anyway, I'm so long-winded on this, but like, you come to find out after all of this nonsense that, like, now Charlotte's a champion, even though she's a champion. It really didn't, like, nothing was gained for her sleeves. Nothing in the way of helping her character by winning the belt. She just has the belt, so it's like, okay, cool. But her belt's not even on the line, so nothing like at stake for her in this match. She's just in it just to be in it. It was like, I thought stuff, and like, yeah, it would be a cool moment to have potentially, the 4 horsemen with all belts in the ring for a curtain call. But you know what make more sense as a moment?
Becky having both belts.
No. It make more sense as a moment is, if that's what your moment is, Charlotte versus Asuka. Charlotte beats Asuka at WrestleMania again in another great match on the card. It helps the card be better, and then they come out and they're all together, as opposed to, all right, Charlotte just lost the match, but she's going to celebrate with this woman that just technically beat her.
Yeah.
And has been beating her for like a year.
Yeah, it's like, it's fucking stupid. Like, it would have made more sense if, like, all right, like, all of us come forward and gave up. Like, imagine if I guess we got to do it. We're going to compare the main roster to TakeOver, right? The NXT Phoenix. What was the NXT Phoenix?
It was Gargano and Ciampa holding their belts up.
And at the same time, we knew they both had smoke, right?
Yeah.
But it made sense, right? It still made some semblance of sense.
Yep.
Okay, so you tell me what makes more sense now. Like, Charlotte's gonna be in a match with Becky and Ronda. Becky beats Ronda. She wins the match victorious. But Charlotte's just gonna like go to the scorekeeper's table, grab her belt, roll her ass in the ring with Bailey and Sasha running in, and they're just gonna hold up the ties together. Like, yeah, we did this. Like, okay, cool. I mean, wrestling's fake. Like Ronda's been saying for weeks, anyway. So like, makes sense. Like, they haven't made any conclusions, or they made no tie to make you feel like Becky and Charlotte are cool or anything like that on screen at all. Another part about it, her story is like, they've done nothing in the dynamic of Charlotte and Ronda having beef with each other. Like, she beat the hell out of her and pilmanized her neck. Ronda shows up the next day and wrestles. Fucking stupid. Whatever. Move on. Ronda shows up at TLC and screws Becky and Charlotte out of the title, and Asuka wins. Okay, so there's something there. They haven't used any of the stuff they had. They didn't use the stuff they had where Charlotte is the last legal performer in the Royal Rumble. It's just, fuck you. Like, it's fine that Becky just like jumped the line or whatever because Lana was hurt. They did nothing. Like, they laid all these breadcrumbs and stuff for you that,
they've had Becky Lynch apologizing to the McMahons.
They got that too. Like, Becky has no agency in the reason why she's in the match now. Like, it's all about Ronda got her into it. And you can say it's manipulation, but I call it bullshit. Like, it's just
way too much.
And then she never gets, and then like people and the obstacles that are in her way, she never actually clears them. It's just like someone clears them for her, or they never get cleared, and she just like she muscles through anyway, and it's just there. Like there's never be a moment where like she gets to square up on Vince and say, "Screw you," blah 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 blah. You know, you were in my way. You screwed me out my match for no reason, for no good reason. You're evil. You never get to come up. It's like it's all of the same stuff they always do when they throw in the McMahon. It's like McMahon's still come out there, and they shit on people, and then they leave, and then like they wonder why the people feel like lesser stars than when like they used to show ass for the stars at the time all the time. Like when they were bumping left and right for Vince and for Austin and The Rock, they wonder why business was booming. It's like, you know,
like,
use your common sense. You know,
that's stupid. Is this camera?
Is this camera on me? Yeah, but you know, it's a historic thing, so I guess we should all be okay with that, you know. And
I want to see. Look, I still very much want to see the match, but the story, like once they did this nonsense, once they did that nonsense, and I knew what was happening because of when they did the Vince comes out and screwed Becky out of the match and then put Charlotte in, and the reason why she put her in was because there was no reason. It was like, okay, I just can't because like y'all are about to be like it's already off the rails. Y'all, I don't trust y'all to get it back on the rails. They did worse. They did a worse job than I thought they were going to do with it. Whatever. Hopefully it's one of those situations where we always say like, you have talent in the ring. Hopefully they can save the program by having a good match that cancels out the bullshit they put out on TV.
I'm gonna be honest. With the way these main events have been going for the past few years, I don't have faith in them to do that.
Well, we don't have a part-timer in there, and Roman Reigns is not having to be forced to wrestle to that part-timer's style. So I don't know, but yeah, they could try to get cute and do this whole thing, but predictions, I'm still going to take Becky to win the championship, and I think she's going to pin Charlotte or submit Charlotte because reasons.
Ronda's the Brock. We're gonna wait a whole another year for her to face Charlotte again before she ever takes a pin.
And that's like the whole thing why I didn't want the three-way, because I don't need to see Becky beating Charlotte again. Like, I want to see Becky beating Ronda. That's where it's at.
Wait, but you remember what the rules are because what have you been so far? Is it like
say that one more time, James?
For this match is fucking convoluted, huh?
Say that one more time. You kind of roboted up.
Sorry. Even the rules for this match are fucking convoluted. Like if it's going to be, it may be titled winner takes all in a match that's not winner takes. It's a Raw title. It's a Raw / SmackDown title match where if either champion pins the other champion, then they become champ. If Becky pins either of the champion, she takes
their belt.
The loser, the person that gets pinned, belt. But if either champion pins Becky, then the match ends. The end. Fuck off. That's the end of it. Like,
yeah.
If Becky gets pinned, no title changes hands. So it's like, even the rules for the match are convoluted. Not just a story. Even it's just such
and it basically spoils the entire match at this point.
Like, because like the way it's set up now, it has you thinking she's going to beat Ronda, but I just don't feel like they have the.
It's too obvious, right?
Yeah, like obvious. Yeah, like it feels like it's set up for Ronda to take the ball, but like I don't know. So I guess it got me in that sense. So moving on, this one will be a little bit shorter. Buddy Murphy.
Oh yeah, hold on. My prediction is that Ronda pins or taps out Rousey. That's. I'm sorry, Becky taps out or pins Ronda. That's my prediction.
Gotcha.
Please happen, please.
We got Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese for the Cruiserweight Championship. Should be a good match. We'll be on the pre-show. I'm pretty much 100% sure of that. Cool story for Tony Nese, who's kind of a local guy in the New York market, wrestled a lot for Evolve around there. He's from Long Island. Of course, the WrestleMania is in New Jersey, everybody. Let's not get it fucking confused. WWE doesn't really do well with geography or anything, but yeah, man, I think these guys should have a heck of a match, but I'm not gonna watch it or anything, so
yeah, I'm skipping the pre-show this year. That's the first time I've done it since they started doing them like that. But like, as far as this match goes, of all the reports I was hearing about Kushida, who was supposed to be coming in, I was expecting for Kushida supposed to get this match at some point. But with just it being Tony Nese, it's gonna be cool for the guys who've seen him wrestling in that area to finally get a match on WrestleMania. But since I don't really keep up with 205 Live to begin with, I have no real strong desire to see this one way or the other.
So, like, the deal with Nese is, like, Nese was one of Murphy's underlings for a long time. Murphy turned on him recently, and, that's kind of the heat after Nese won the tournament, defeating Cedric Alexander in the final. I always liked Tony Nese. I always thought he had a lot of talent, kind of not there charisma-wise, but he always had great ring gear, and that man does flips. So, Nese is always good in my book, but I think Murphy's too much here.
Yeah, I have Murphy going over.
So you got Murphy going over, James.
Yeah, I have Murphy going over. Unless they're going to move him somewhere, NXT or NXT UK or SmackDown, Raw, whatever else. Like other than that, I don't see any reason to change the belt. I mean, especially for Nese. I don't think Nese can carry or can help carry 205 Live in that aspect, like with promos or anything else. Like, he can wrestle his ass off, but that's pretty much all he has. Like, with that in the 8-pack, but he's babyface now, so that don't even count.
I wonder if he's still going to do the count gimmick. He got to stop that now, right?
No, he stopped that a few weeks ago.
Gotcha. So yeah, should be a good match, but up next, a no holds barred match. If Triple H loses, he must retire from in-ring competition. This feels familiar. Triple H versus Batista. Simon, take it away.
All right. First of all, this entire feud where is the stupid DVD? In my house, because my parents must know I hate this pay-per-view, I have the DVD of WrestleMania 29. Now, on this specific show, featured 3 big matches: CM Punk versus The Undertaker, the main event between The Rock and John Cena for the WWE Championship, and Triple H versus Brock Lesnar in a no-holds-barred match, with the stipulation added that Triple H would retire if he lost. Now, some of you are wondering why I'm talking about this. Let me tell you the story of how we got to this match. These two wrestlers had some type of history at a previous show, be it WrestleMania, SummerSlam, or wherever. For the short term, with the Triple H and Batista feud, it happened at the SmackDown 1000. Long term, it's some jealousy dating back to WrestleMania, whatever the case may be. The situation becomes a WrestleMania match in the making when Triple H's opponent attacks his loved one. For Brock Lesnar, it was Vince McMahon, Triple H's father-in-law. For Batista, it was Ric Flair, Triple H's mentor. At which point, Triple H agrees to the match. A stipulation is added, making it no holds barred, in addition to putting his career on the line. And then, no surprise, he wins the match. This is literally the exact same as what happened at WrestleMania 29. And considering the fact that I hate that show, this doesn't seem like a good sign for this match.
James?
This match could be a pleasant surprise if it goes like 12 minutes. It could be a 15 minutes. Over 15 minutes, it's going to get real rough. I believe that Batista and Triple H can go out there and do a no holds barred match, and I think Rich called it a walking brawl. They can walk a brawl around about the ringside area and tell a good story in 15 minutes. If they fuck around and go longer than that, then whatever happens to them is whatever happens to them, and have nobody to blame but themselves and their egos. And when I say egos, I'm more or less talking mostly about Triple H. But you guys already knew that in the words of Antonio and Alberto Del Rio. So yeah, we'll see.
And on that note, I want to remind everybody that the last singles match Triple H had was at the Super Showdown pay-per-view last year. Guess what the time for that match was?
Probably 25 minutes.
Probably 28.
Close. 27.
Good God. The Triple H principle. Like, if you think, Triple H, like you already know how he's about to get down. He's about to go on fourth, and he's about to, have all the time he wants in the middle of the show, and everybody else can figure it out later. And, you can usually tell how WrestleMania is going to go from the Triple H match.
God damn it.
Usually there's a strong correlation, right? Let's just think about it. And it's not 100% perfect. Since we've started watching back, James, we watched WrestleMania 27. They had a great match, right? Wasn't the greatest show up and down, but they had a couple things on the show that were enjoyable. WrestleMania 28, all-time great show. Triple H and Undertaker in the Hell in a Cell, all-time great match.
Yep.
WrestleMania 29, the middest of mid. Triple H and Brock Lesnar, super mid.
Adequate at best.
WrestleMania 30, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Triple H and Daniel Bryan, awesome match.
One of the greatest openers. Okay.
Yep. WrestleMania 31, the night it happened, it was awesome. Triple H and Sting. Whole show, WrestleMania 31, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time.
Yep, and that's the thing is that was one of those sports entertainment classics, right? Smoke and mirror job, and they got the hell out of there. Congratulations. Triple H used to realize that he's much better at this stage of the game as a sports entertainment person than he is as a technician. Sure, he can sit down and put people in any death locks and holds or whatever else, but that aspect of the game that's not what it is with him. He can't go in that way. And Batista, he doesn't wrestle enough to he hasn't wrestled, so that's another one that you're behind him. But even when he was wrestling, it wasn't like he was motherfucking Dean Malenko in the ring or Eddie Guerrero or I was gonna say Benoit, but yeah. So he's not no Daniel Bryan, so they need to figure out that's why the stipulation's in place there to help this match, and it should help this match.
Yeah.
The problem, this match should be good unless it goes for 15 minutes and then it'll fall apart.
Yeah, WrestleMania 32, very disappointing match, very disappointing WrestleMania. WrestleMania 33, toned down match, very long match, just an all right match on a mid-tier WrestleMania.
A good match that went way too long.
Yeah. WrestleMania 34. He kind of breaks from tradition here. Has an excellent match. But the WrestleMania but that WrestleMania is not one I ever want to really go back and visit too often. So right. WrestleMania 35. What will it be? I thought they got off to a good start with the storyline. They kind of went into weird shooty territory at one point. We still haven't got the physicality from Batista yet to really see where he's at. He's going to be on Raw this coming week. So this is kind of still in progress, but I feel like they gave it away with the Triple H loses, he must retire stipulation. So Triple H over Batista with the pedigree finally gives his win back after all these years. This is like Hulk Hogan getting the Ultimate Warrior to show up at WCW so he can finally get a win back on him. But except Batista, for some Jedi mind trick reason, wants to lay down for Triple H. So
I've heard him say this in interviews ever since 2014, and I still don't get it.
Yes.
The story's over. There's nothing to go back to.
The story is he's appreciative of that dude picking him when he wasn't the first choice of Evolution. It was the other guy with Randy Orton. I forgot who it was, but
Jindrak.
I think so. Yeah. So anyway, I think he's appreciative of realizing, if not for Triple H, I don't get these opportunities that were given to me over the last whatever many years, and he's appreciative of that, and he wants to give him a win back, and that's fine. Whatever else, but
that's real hard to kind of convey on TV.
Right. But that's not actually. I mean, that's the behind the scenes shit. That's not what they're actually trying to tell us, right? But for me, what I would say is that the best case scenario for this is Batista wins. We get 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yes. Double retirement.
Two birds, 1 stone, and we can call it a wrap, and we can get him out of there, so we can now worry about what's next for Randy Orton and whoever else is going to be part-time and to take over that spot.
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. When Shawn Michaels came out of retirement last year, and they said the Triple H was going to retire this year, or the stipulation is in place for him to retire if he loses. Like, even if he does lose, he's gonna come right back out of retirement. It's like, well, you see, I am the authority.
No, the best part would be like if he pulled that the Ric Flair deal after he lost that match.
I'll never retire.
Yeah, I'll never retire. Look, what's Batista gonna do? Fight me again?
So
what's that baby gonna do? What they're gonna do? They're gonna enforce their rules of retirement. They just had Undertaker. They just had Shawn Michaels come back.
Yeah. So the next match listed on here is Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin, but I'll be damned if we talk about him before we talk about Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. So we're gonna skip to that. So Daniel Bryan, the WWE champion, somehow he has made it to WrestleMania as the champion. He did not get fucked as I was anticipating. And he is up against the most unlikely challenger, I think, possible. If you had asked me on January 1st who Daniel Bryan's wrestling, I would have had no idea it was Kofi Kingston. It turns out they lucked themselves into one when they were spending all the energy trying to heat up the women's triple threat and not giving a fuck about Seth Rollins. They found some other shit. Kofi Mania. So they've been going in this direction. Kofi got this opportunity due to Mustafa Ali having an injury. They had to replace him in that gauntlet match, and in that gauntlet match, it became clear that Kofi Kingston has all this respect. Kofi Kingston has all this love. Kofi Kingston has all this skill and talent that has just sat there for all this time, and the man finally gets a chance, and he fucking knocks it out of the park. Then he goes to the Elimination Chamber and has one of the most inspiring performances, I would dare to say, in WWE history. When he goes with Daniel Bryan at the end of Elimination Chamber, in my book, that's the greatest Elimination Chamber match of all time. And
definitely got the rating to prove it.
Yeah, and that big jump at the end, it just felt like I rarely connect emotionally with this stuff. Like so, like in WWE, and that got to me. So seeing this, they've added in some stuff. Of course, they played on the New Day has been excellent all on social media, playing up the they're gonna quit aspect of the storyline, the race aspect of the storyline, with Kofi Kingston saying, Vince, you don't even let people that look like me challenge for this belt, and I don't even raise hell about that. And Kofi's I wrote a column that did pretty well, pretty much in saying this is the challenging story that WWE that we kind of demand out of them. But I think they did take kind of a back step last week with it, where they kind of removed all that rhetoric and leaned hard into the B+ player direction. Let me put something out there right now. Kofi Kingston is not an underdog. He's not a B+ player. He's a dude that has had all this talent for all this time that just never got an opportunity. He's the fucking Cinderella man. He's the dude that has been around and just never got his chance. He's a tag team guy that's breaking out of his tag team. It's literally one of the oldest stories in the book. Oh, and did I mention that he can be your first African American champion since the fucking Rock of Vince McMahon's daddy's belt? Of course, this shit is lit right now.
Hey! Now wait a minute. Now, according to Jim Ross,
we're gonna talk about that.
There's no place in wrestling.
Yeah, old Jim Ross. So JR wanted to say that race has no role in wrestling. Meanwhile, this man learned under Bill Watts. So. who made money off of a black top guy for years in Mid-South. Come on, man.
And in 2005, there's a whole clip of him leaning into this pro-America storyline with Muhammad Hassan. He's like, when it comes to America, you love it or by God, you leave it.
Yeah, I'm talking about there's no is it like race, religion, politics, no room for that in wrestling and all this. It's like, bro. So WWE is kind of go ahead, James.
Yeah, as far as the Muhammad Hassan thing, look, we don't know how much he was into or not into wanting to actually do that. Who knows? Whatever. It's Vince's company, and he had been there long enough to know that like he's obviously going to do whatever, or do pretty much anything he was told to do. Remember, he didn't want to do the cowboy hat shit, and then 30 years later, he's still with the cowboy hat. Or 25, 26 years later, whatever you want to say. As far as Jim Ross thing, as far as, there's no place for third world topics or whatever else, as far as for the company, it's like, I mean, that's real convenient for you to say when you are the majority, right? Like, you never had a storyline that kind of, it's not even like it's like, it's not even like it's overt necessarily. Like, it's not even overt. It's just like the presence is the fact that he is black, and more than anything, just the fact that he is a person in the title match is like pushing that more than anything else. It's like
there's a quiet weight that's underneath the surface of this thing. It is the surface. Sorry, my bad.
It's flat out for a lot of people. Like they never had to think about this thing because like we live in a society that is centered on whiteness, right? So. Like when that is considered, when for people to think that in their lives or society as that is the default for like for somebody that's not of the default, like they have to come to grips with like the fact that like there's otherness on my TV screen in a high level position, right? So, and then they talk about how much he is other, and it's kind of like it makes people. I see how it can make people uncomfortable. And I see that's how. The best way I can say it is like what Jim Ross is stating is basically like either one or some of this all together. It's one, we have a great chance to fuck this up because this is wrestling. We're not good at subtlety or restraint or people's dignity, right? Then there's the other aspect of it, which is He's basically placating. He's basically placating people's fragileness when it comes to having to like sit there and contemplate the ideas of wow, like yeah, we've only had one black WWE champion ever. Wow, that's interesting. Over 50 champions over 60 something years. That is interesting. I wonder why that is. Oh yeah, another thing. Oh yeah, we haven't had we've only had like maybe 2 or 3 main event black guys in the entire company's history ever, or black. I mean, not even just women or men. That's also something I also think about as well. It's like, so that's all of that you have to think about. Like, and he's more or less playing into like, one, we can fuck this up into also like, yeah, like we got some soft. We got a soft consumer base when it comes to this. And I don't know how they're going to handle that. And they might take it wrong. And ultimately, the whole thing is we have to try to placate, even if it is wrong, we probably have to placate our consumer base. And it's something that, like, other places, once they've addressed it, have better ways of handling it. Like, the NBA is far better at handling race with their consumer base than WWE is, because WWE isn't has nearly as many minorities in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's just what it comes with territory. And the thing is, like, this is going to be difficult until it's no longer difficult because you've done enough work to where you have a track record of not leaving people as just mid-card dancing acts or African witch doctors or rapping or motherfuckers that are dumb or thieves or conspiracy coons.
Militants.
Yeah, like this. Like once, like they haven't had enough people to be able to say like, yeah, like just have like they haven't had enough work with this to be able to say they have a track record of being trusted to do anything well with this. And so far, they've done pretty well with this by playing the notes of this very lightly. I don't think they're going to really play any higher, but it's good where it's at, and people respect Kofi and appreciate Kofi how long he's been there and appreciate the New Day. And ultimately, like, this should be a celebration of that. Now, if we get into ultimately, like, given where they've gone with this, like, he has no choice but to win the title. And if they don't, then they're making a gigantic mistake. And I wouldn't put it past making this mistake because, like, a part of the reason why people are hesitant with the Kofi thing is because then they have to acknowledge it, like, I wonder why it is that, like, you know, the Kofis and Booker T's and Mark Henrys and whoever else over the last however many years in this company have only gotten but so far. Considering that we gave Jinder Mahal the title, we made Kane a champion before, we made all these other motherfuckers that never drew a dime champion before, right? So
Jack Swagger, Del Rio,
so it's like, no, you know, so like miss me with that. It's about the green, because it's like, no, it's not, because like if it was about the green, then The Rock would have been champion after WrestleMania 20 or 6. Get the fuck out of my face with that. So
and also the New Day would have been the champion if it was about the money. They've been making money for this company.
Right. Like, you tell me who sold more merchandise over the last 5 years, Seth Rollins or New Day? Like, and like, the thing is this: I'm not saying that one is clearly better than the other, but the fact it's close enough should open up a discussion for, well, okay, if that's the case, then why blank, blank, blank? But no one ever does the blank, blank, blank. They just want to move on.
I've always had that question about the Shield and New Day. Always.
Yeah.
Going back to their 2017 Survivor Series match, it's like,
Like, another thing is, like, so you acknowledge that, like, these are the two gigantic factions of the last 5 years in the company, that you make it a match, and they go back and forth. But then from there, like, every single member of the Shield are Triple Crown winners. Like, nobody's ever been a heavyweight championship or world heavyweight champion or WWE champion. Xavier has never won a solo belt. Like, but these dudes they're just a tag team fodder. It's like, okay,
yeah,
all right.
Simon, what do you think about this whole thing? Like,
okay, there's literally like that, glass ceiling. That's not for you, baby. Like, that's clearly what that is.
Yeah.
So, like, now that circumstance happened or whatever else, like, we're in a situation where their hands almost been forced, and like it's typical WWE. Like, they end up in situations where, like, it's not actually what their game plan is that they have to make an adjustment based off of circumstance, and it makes them do better things typically. Like, Wyatt has meningitis and Roman has the mumps. I guess that means we can't do, Pumpkin Face versus Sister Abigail. We have to do the Demon versus AJ Styles, or like, we've always had these circumstances like where, like, reality intervenes and they end up having to do better things than what they actually had planned. And it's like, all right, this is one of those situations, another one of them. Like, they lucked into this one. They really did.
Simon, what have you thought of this whole angle, and then Daniel Bryan's role in it also?
I really like the fact that they've leaned into him becoming the guy that he always hated, the guy he fought against. Because only 5 years ago he was talking about they don't want to see somebody like me succeed, and now for that to be flipped from the perspective of a black wrestler, that's like a really cool thing that you would not expect.
Hold on. So, unless there's something I missed here, I don't believe that there was I don't believe that the reason why he wants him, or he's afraid of him, or he become the person he hates is because of Kofi being black. I believe that it's because he's now just an asshole. Like, obviously that's a comment.
Evil.
I'm not exactly saying that he's saying that. I'm just saying, like, the situation, like some of the verbiage that's being used.
Yeah, but he's not using that verbiage. Kofi's using that verbiage. And also every time he ever runs down Kofi, it's you lost at pay-per-view X, pay-per-view Y, like, you don't deserve any more opportunities. He's never said, like, anything. I mean, he said that that they have a mid-card gimmick, which they do. I would say that's not a bad idea to cut him down with the truth. But outside of that, I wouldn't say he's necessarily going into race. Like, I would say that that when the New Day and Vince interact, that's more about race than
I don't think Daniel Bryan's touched that. Like, with race.
I don't think Bryan's touched that at all. But I think the Vince
he's done the B plus. He's done the B plus player stuff though.
I was talking more so the B plus player aspect.
Gotcha.
Overall.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Maybe I just jumped on it. I was like, I don't want to, hear no nonsense from anybody else talking about it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
I trust me. I've seen the Fed Defense Squad that section of it is worse. You know who you are. But yeah, just seeing the way the B+ player aspect is getting flipped, and now there's another not underdog. There's another guy who's fighting for the title in that same spot. That's what I'm really interested in seeing. Plus, a lot people pretend like Kofi Kingston was never in the conversation for a world championship run. Like, where were y'all in 2009? Because I remember the conversation. It was Kofi, it was Cody, it was Dolph Ziggler, and maybe one other person. Like, those are three people from like the mid card who people were talking about getting more opportunities in the future. One person got to be the world champion. Another guy got hit with a bunch of tag teams, and that corny Stardust getting it until he left. And then Kofi, who's just been weathering the storm for these past 2 years, ends up joining one of the best factions in WWE, making tons of merch and just keeping the tag team division afloat and SmackDown afloat, while Jinder Mahal is around here with the belt, talking about he's the modern day Prince or whatever. So this is a long time coming. I'm hoping that Kofi Kingston wins. My heart says Kofi Kingston wins. My brain is telling me that Daniel Bryan's going to win.
See, the thing for me is, I have Kofi because of one or two. One is like once you let him saying people like me, then you've invited all this other shit in on it, right? As opposed to it becomes something that you can just talk about, like on the. It could be a conversation between me, you, Sierra, whoever, or Jeremy, Rob, Rance, whoever else, about like, are they actually playing in on this too? Like, nah, you put it in the on screen. Like, that's not just, Big E cutting promos, sitting at a desk looking sad or whatever else. Like, you literally put it on TV. You brought it, you've encouraged this as a part of the conversation around your TV show. So like once that happens, it's like all bets are off. He's super duper over right now. You don't give a fuck about that belt anyway. Make him the damn champion. Yeah. So like that's and another part about it is like, oh yeah, and also like I've seen the New Day in Saudi Arabia after actually, were they on Crown Jewel? I don't remember. I'll look it up right now. Okay. Well, anyway. Kofi's more likely to be to go to another Saudi show than Bryan is. So like, that's another part about this is like, all right. Like, there's also the thing of like, you like even from a backstage standpoint of like, Bryan don't want to go over there. So if you want to do a title match over there, make Kofi the champion. As a matter of fact, Kofi and all three members of the New Day were at the Crown Jewel. Okay, so there you go. There's your answer. Like, there's no on screen. It makes sense. On logistically after WrestleMania, it makes sense. Right. So there you go. Like,
run with it.
See where it goes. And also, if you make Kofi the champion, like, depending on how well it goes, it could go longer. But I don't think anyone's sitting here thinking like, yeah, he should be the champion for 8 months. SummerSlam and you're done. Maybe even Money in the Bank if it's not as good as we think it is. Right. It's just like make him a champion, give him a legitimate actual opponent, give him a legitimate main event, title worthy type of dude, like someone in that one of the top 16 guys between both brands or whatever else, whether it's Roman or Joe or Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins or whoever else, Daniel Bryan again, whatever.
AJ
that's
Styles,
fine.
somebody
AJ,
like that.
Yeah, AJ Orton. Give him somebody that legit as actually someone that the crowd respects as another legitimate title.
Give him Randy Orton
and let him one of those guys. But yeah, it could be Orton. I think they kind of wrestle too much for that because they keep wrestling. But do that, and then when it's his time, take the belt off of him. And then you go continue with the New Day thing and go from there. It's like, it's not that hard to do this.
Yep. So I guess that'll wrap it up. I've got Kofi Kingston winning here. I think they've come too far to fuck this up at this point. I would be shocked if Kofi Kingston didn't win the title.
Yeah, like I think over the last few weeks they've been doing the thing where they're positing of, we can't all get what we want. There has to be some heat on this fucking show. The biggest show of the year, there has to be heat on it. So, either Seth has to lose or has to fail, or Becky has to fail, or Kofi has to fail. So who do you pick? And our whole thing is like, I'm not entertaining none of you with this negative shit. It's a number one. It's the biggest show of the year. This is a company that's been built on the backs of baby faces. How about this? How about all the fucking baby faces win and you can figure it out from there?
No, we got to.
How about some fucking joy? How about some fucking joy for the first time since Evolution? How about that? Would that be the worst thing in the world?
Yeah. Happiness at a WWE show? Stop it.
People might actually start liking this shit as opposed to just feeling like they have to suffer through it.
Yeah, if everyone likes it, people wouldn't have anything to defend. Ever thought about that? So
that's the best part about it is like you look at NXT and you see like they're almost like you look at the like they're both owned by the same company. The diest of diehards watch the NXT. The most critical minds of it watch NXT. They make mistakes as well, just like, and everyone documents them. But people do not feel like just miserable watching their 5 hours. Like it's the 5 hours and it's the less cohesive storytelling that just kills off enthusiasm. And they haven't learned that. And like when you keep sending people up and like people to have moments or whatever else, and the moments don't come through, or they get obfuscated, or they have to be sent on chases to go get their thing, which is, and then ultimately like leads to the storytelling is bad and nonsensical and doesn't hold up from week to week. So then by the time person actually gets that moment, like it doesn't feel earned or it feels lesser than. Like a bunch of the last 2 years that were like. To know that, like, yeah, you don't need to do it like this. You just don't.
Yeah. Up next, I guess we got to talk about it. Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. Now, Kurt Angle's washed. I'm not about to sit here and perpetrate otherwise. I don't lie to y'all on this program. But I'm glad it's the end of the line for Kurt Angle. Like, but...
I'm not at all. Should have been the end of the line last year.
Yeah, like, and I always had the phrase, it's amazing how fast they lose it. Kurt Angle has lost it quickly.
If you watch his match with Samoa Joe, you will notice that this man was out here executing all of his moves like he was underwater, held down by cinder blocks.
Damn. Yeah.
And as you said, he had some of the greatest punches in the business. He doesn't even have those anymore. It's very sad. It's like and the big moment is going to be him beating this guy who's going to give him one of the worst matches in his career.
This shouldn't go long at all. This shouldn't go more than 5 minutes.
Shouldn't go more than 2.
This shouldn't go on, period.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Somehow Baron Corbin has got a solo match here at WrestleMania, not Andrade.
Think about it like this: Baron Corbin sucked so bad 2 years ago that they had to take a Grand Slam winning member of the Shield off of the main card, put him in the pre-show because Corbin sucked so bad. Flash forward to 2 years later. And now he's getting Angle's retirement match, and he hasn't improved not one bit.
I'd say he's regressed more than anything. He was better in NXT at this point.
Yeah. I don't know about all that, but
I think he
was better. I feel like I think that 2016, 17 when he was on or SmackDown, when he was out here, when he could be carried by Ziggler and AJ Styles or whoever else in multi-man matches. That was peak Corbin. That was the
peak Corbin. I didn't know such a thing existed.
After that 2017 Royal Rumble performance, that was probably the last time I ever saw him do something that was like, this guy has something.
Speaking of that same match you talking about, Simon, he eliminated Braun Strowman. Do you know how ridiculous that looks in retrospect now?
Well, not really, considering where Braun Strowman is.
Yes.
We'll get to that when we get to it.
We'll get to it. But, Corbin shouldn't be in this spot.
It's unfair to him too. Like This dude's been struggling. His ass been struggling for years now, and like it's been getting worse and worse and worse. The more they've been trying to push this shit because he doesn't have it, and then they give him this moment where like he's supposed to like he's a piece of shit, and you should want the retiring hero, the gunslinger, going out for one last gunfight. And they don't even want to see the retiring. They don't even want to see old man Logan versus the bad guy. They don't even want to see that. They just like, nah, man, just die. Just we don't even want to see the third act. Just die. That's how bad this thing is.
I feel like Kurt Angle, if he takes an end of days, like his hips may shatter. Like I don't even want to see him take that bump. But. And this, I've mentioned this before. All this tells me is they don't really give a fuck about Kurt Angle. Nope. He left and wrestled for TNA for all those years, and they didn't appreciate that. And apparently, Kurt Angle says like now he's like clean and sober and healthy. That's awesome. That is wonderful. I'm glad like he's reclaimed control of his life. But this is not it. Like this needs to be finished.
One of the greatest wrestlers of all time is going out like a joke. And the people laughing are the company he's currently working for.
I wouldn't be shocked by that because you know how Triple H felt about Kurt Angle back then.
The fact that we got two I'm not...
Yeah. Triple H throws a stipulation on... Yeah. So, up next, do we get winners on that one? I guess I'll take Kurt, hopefully. I'll take Kurt Angle. Give him a win. Fuck it.
It's Kurt Angle. It has to be.
Okay, let's do this. Let's give Kurt Angle the win, and let's transfer the "You Suck" chant over to Baron Corbin.
He's not even worthy of that. He's not even worthy of the chant "You Suck."
You know,
I want him to go away.
But this is a shoot.
The thing with "You Suck" was that like Kurt Angle like garnered it because he had legitimate heat with the crowd for being this aloof asshole that didn't realize that he was the bad guy, right? And it stuck. And even when he became the wrestling machine and a badass or a babyface at the time, it still stuck because of the respect people have for him, but still liked how it went with the music. Corbin comes out and it's fucking crickets. Like for him to get a "You Suck" would be like that means he'd be getting a bigger reaction than what he always gets. So it's not going to happen because people don't care about Corbin. They just want him off the fucking screen because there's a difference in go away heat and legitimate heat where I want to see you I want to pay to see you get your ass whooped, or I want to tune in and watch you get your ass whooped, and I don't want to see you at all. And
say that again, James, because you know there are those that like to just completely disregard this for whatever reason.
There's a difference in heat, like. Floyd Mayweather has. I will drop $100 to see if there's a chance someone can land a fist on your jaw. Heat, right? It's there as opposed to, oh yeah, Adrian Broner. He's a fucking joke. He's an asshole and he says racist stuff. So I hope he gets his ass whooped. But I'm not going to tune in to watch Pacquiao beat him up.
Yeah, I think that's a clear difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and the clear obvious sign of this is that he's never like. You could try to move the "You Suck" thing over to him. It's not going to work. Is because when he said that he wanted to fight Corbin, the crowd didn't say yay or boo. They fucking groaned. They're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Such disrespect.
And the same is going on with like the McIntyre heat with the I'm tough as cancer shit. Is like, come on, man, get the fuck out of here with
How
this.
does the company maintain its relationships with all these cancer research facilities and companies?
Oh, it's entertainment, you know.
By having bad guys, because bad guys are trivializing cancer. But I guess their logic is, well, they're the bad guys, they're assholes. So of course, assholes would make some remarks about them being as important as cancer, or tough as cancer, or tougher than cancer. I guess there's a logic behind it.
Meanwhile, the Ultimate Warrior is the face. This company gets on my nerves.
Up next, we got Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Jesus Christ!
The king of shoot punches versus the king of terrible punches. So, I just want to know what Shane McMahon's going to jump off of, because if it's Falls Count Anywhere, they may build something in the stage where he takes this huge bump. I think that's the only appealing thing about the match. Will Shane McMahon die?
I think the thing for me is that, like, I think it's going to be a role reversal because Shane is the daredevil that does crazy, dumb shit all the time, and almost like he's going to die whenever he gets like 5 minutes into a match. I think the change is going to be that they're going to have Miz try to do dumb shit all around the ring or whatever else as Shane doesn't do anything because Shane is a heel now, so heel shouldn't be out here trying to risk or take risks or whatever else. Also given the story of them teaming up and Miz is the one that always sees the pins and he's the weak link, like Miz has more to prove, so he's going to be the one that has to do more stuff to try to put away Shane because they've literally have portrayed Shane as the best in the world since November.
Do you think,
or October or whatever?
Do you think the Miz can hit an elbow drop through the announce table? Do you think he has the athletic ability to jump that far?
To actually connect or like Shane connect, which means like we change the camera angle even though they're not connecting at all.
Do you think he can make it look passable?
I think he's gonna miss.
Well, Shane misses, so who cares?
No, I mean like miss the table.
So you think he's gonna do You think he's gonna do Foley at WrestleMania 16?
Yep. Yes. I love you, Miz. You're entertaining, but I know what to expect from you. So
I don't think that's the spot they actually gonna do, but I think Miz is gonna take a big bump in this match. I think he's gonna actually take off the training wheels and take a real big bump for the first time, or actually the second big bump he's ever taken in his decade-long career.
What was the first one?
Remember when he there was a spot at one of the Money in the Banks where he actually hung from the briefcase or whatever else at a belt in the chair or the table. I'm sorry, table. The ladder got yanked from underneath him and he fell and he sold it as if he blew out his knee and then came back later. This is back when Miz was when Cole was a heel. So this is like 2010, 11ish, and he comes back like he back and he runs back in limping and he sells it as if he's hurt.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I couldn't give a fuck about this match.
Same here.
I don't care.
Me neither.
This is the best told story for WrestleMania. This is the best long form story they've told for WrestleMania this year. None of us give a flying fuck about this match.
Yeah, like Shane McMahon still having singles matches. Go away, man.
Yeah,
fuck. Man. Like I don't need this shit, bro.
I was over you after you was running it with Randy Orton on the pay-per-view in 2009.
Yeah.
And you came back for a match against The Undertaker that nobody wanted to see. And then you had a match against AJ Styles that produced one of the funniest rants from Rich I've ever heard in my life.
So
I'm going to listen to that when we're done here.
So, guys, so Rich, you have made comments about like when certain people wear certain attire, that means that like they're now it's serious now, right? So like like leather jacket Triple H's, you refer to him as Shoot H, right?
Yes,
so,
Shoot H.
so like after Fastlane, do you have a name for like what Shane was when he showed up in that leather jacket? Do you have something? Do you have something on that?
I would assume that he's reverting to like when he grew up, he was like when he was a young pipsqueak, he was in the Posse,
Oh my god.
But he's back to Mean Street Posse Shane, but just the Posse ain't around and he's like grown up like Shane. Before it was all kind of legacy money and you knew he wasn't shit or whatever, but now it's like he learned a little bit about the game and how it all works. No real nickname for the outfit, but this is like an evolved version of Mean Street Posse Shane.
Okay.
I just say we drop the posse and call him Mean Street Shane.
Oh my gosh. Like I just want Shane to show up in a black baseball jersey this time just because he's evil. So oh man. The word of
Jim Cornette, because I'm a heel.
Yes. Up next, we've got AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. The WWE versus TNA match, or WWE versus the World match.
AJ Styles is the cover superstar for their game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
The time to do this match was 2017 when he was still just a year in. He is a WWE right at this point. This is this is ridiculous.
Yeah, this man's like one of your most legendary champions at this point in your folklore.
Like number 9. I think he's literally number 9 on the top longest reigns in WWE history.
Yeah, it's like that man's certified now. It's like he belongs to y'all. Like, So I thought about this today after watching the. I saw Kenny Omega respond to someone on Twitter today, where someone was mad at him that he showed up in his hometown where he shows up like once a year or twice a year or whenever he's not working a tour and goes and has a match, and he did the deal where he lost a match to Don Callis or whatever, right? So someone tweeted him and was like, you could have had a match at WrestleMania, what are you doing? And then Omega was basically like, man, I don't care about WrestleMania like that. Like, that's like, that's just a work. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'd rather do what I do for my hometown or whatever, and have fun or whatever, right? So what the fuck would Kenny have done on this card?
Oh, I can tell you.
Would he have got this match right here against Randy Orton?
No, like, okay, so are you talking about if it's just him that came in, or are you talking about
Let's just say just him. Let's just say just him. Make it simple.
Just him?
Yeah.
They either try to push him off from the jump and he faces Daniel Bryan, or he's facing somebody lower on the card like McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and some ridiculousness. Maybe even AJ Styles and the leader of the club.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. Okay, so if he comes in solo by himself with no Cody, no Young Bucks, I think like the first thing they do is they try to they basically do something where like they're quote unquote like there's some, they try to tease like there may be an invasion with some of the ex Bullet Club members or New Japan people, and he's trying to like make a posse out of those a faction out of those people.
Yeah.
So and then like I think eventually that leads to like AJ or Daniel Bryan or maybe even Seth, but then again like the Seth thing was probably set in stone. He was going to fight Brock anyway, but like I think ultimately ends up with like AJ or Bryan, and maybe for the title, maybe not.
But as far as Styles and Orton go, this is funny. Randy Orton's like 4 years younger than AJ Styles, or 3 years younger than AJ Styles, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I forgot how old Randy Orton is. Let me check. Is he 39 yet?
I think he's like 39, maybe 40.
Yeah, he's about to be 39 tomorrow. So, he's 2 or 3 years younger than AJ Styles, who is like 41, maybe 42 at this point.
Right. And then Ray is like 44.
He's 41. So, yeah, this is
Ray.
No, Styles. I was saying it was 41.
Yeah, and I'm saying, but I just made a point of saying like Ray is like 43 or 44. That's crazy.
Yeah. Should be a decent. Should be a decent match. Styles is not the guy he was. Orton's not the guy he was. I would have liked to see this match years ago.
Literally just 2 years ago.
Yeah, literally 2 years ago.
We saw it 2 years ago on SmackDown. It was one of the best TV matches of the year.
I know.
That match was awesome.
A good TV match.
Yeah, exactly. I know. My point
WrestleMania
is
season.
Yeah, my point.
Good job. You didn't miss the boat on that.
Right. And we were saying that at the time when it happened, we were like, dude, like, why the fuck? Like, this is at a time where, like, 2017, they were just giving away matches. Like, oh, yeah, Nakamura versus Cena, just give it away. Cena versus Strowman, just give it away.
Yeah.
And the WWE Championship's downfall is quick.
Cena versus Roman, do it on the undercard or second from the top on fucking No Mercy. Like
a month after SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
And the downfall of the WWE Championship is swift and fast in 2017, and it's largely due to what happened with AJ Styles when he lost, and what happened with Randy Orton and who he won it from.
Yeah.
Followed by who won it after him.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say?
And yeah, man, just I don't know about this match. Like, it should be fine. I don't know. I don't know if Randy Orton will care. You know how Orton gets down. So if he's motivated, they'll have a good match. If not, like, it'll be like 3 1/4 or something, like 3 1/2.
I have high expectations for this. Maybe just because of the aesthetic of never seeing these two just go at it. Because like you said earlier, they had that match on SmackDown, but we could tell that neither one was giving it their all.
Right. Like it was a TV match. It was a good ass TV match. It was a TV match nonetheless. Yeah, I think that they can have a match as good as that, if not better. Like they haven't done much in the way of wrestling, and you know we make these jokes about recently about like if we go on a per segment basis, like the most efficient wrestler in the entire company is Randy Orton. Like that man does very little, but he gets a lot of return on the stuff he does. If he comes out there and he gets 12 minutes or whatever else in a mid-card match, he can go out there and have themselves a nice little 4-star match and make like, see, like think of how like they did very little build. Like they had Randy interrupt him a couple times backstage. You had AJ lay him out with an elbow. They do one promo together in the ring and they set up a match where they argue with each other, talk about how they both have their issues with each other. And there was a really good back and forth promo, probably one of the best of the year. And then they pointed a WrestleMania sign. They have a match, and then they had the match. It was awesome. And you look back and you say, when wrestling's not convoluted, it's really really cool and simple and it makes sense. Like, and then we just call it a day as far as like, yeah, that's a tried and true. Get out of your own fucking way and just put together a match people want to see and have people say things to each other that make you want to see them fight, and then they fight and it's awesome, and then you move on. It's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do sports entertainment or wrestling. Just don't do convoluted shit and then change your mind on it from week to week.
But then how can they claim that they're clever and that they're smarter than the fans? Because we don't understand, but they understand. That's about like let me put it this way. We're the rest. Like WWE is Eric Bischoff talking to Psycho Sid about where his scissors are.
Okay, you know what my answer to you would be about that is the coaches that tend to have a lot of success around in sports that tend to have a lot of success are the ones that realize that it's not about them, it's about the infrastructure they can build or the people they can put around them and how they basically build around the talent on the field or court or whatever else to succeed. For example, Nick Saban never says he's the best coach. He says that he's the best recruiter and he's very good at hiring people that help to build an infrastructure, whether from the top down, from experienced coaches to a support staff, or you know the covert coaches off the field. You have Greg Popovich that said in his prime, you know, our system. You don't want to know what our system is for the San Antonio Spurs. Our offense runs through Tim Duncan, and our defense runs through Tim Duncan. Like it's really simple. It's really simple. Like you figure out what the strengths of the people that are on the chessboard are, and then you use that to move the shit around. You use that to move the shit around of the chess place. I'm sorry, let me start from the top. I'll take that again. You find out what your people can do or the people that you're working with can do, and then you try to build towards their strengths and try to de-emphasize their weaknesses, and then you move them around a chessboard. It's not that hard. It's just not. Stop trying to stop trying to fit square pegs through round holes.
Who's going to
win? Like, this is one of those matches it's hard to predict because, like, neither man has anything coming up that we know about, and both men have already accomplished careers, so the one can win.
I'm picking Randy Orton.
I initially wrote down AJ Styles, but when I think about it, he already won last year after beating Nakamura, and then the year before he beat Shane. So I'm thinking they probably want to even up his WrestleMania record. So I'm gonna go ahead and change my pick to Randy Orton.
So basically what you're saying is, so we're now at 50-50 people on WrestleMania cards.
Oh
the top
my
stars.
God.
We're 50-50 in the top stars. Jesus Christ. It's AJ, and there's no reason why. There's no reason unless you're going to go to Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston or Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan. Like unless Randy Orton immediately like becoming the next title contender for the next program after WrestleMania, there's no need for him to win the title or win this match. That's the only explanation that makes any sense. Other than that, AJ should win this thing.
Yeah, I tend to lean Orton is what they're gonna do, but you know, it could go either way. Roman Reigns and the man that's tougher than cancer, Drew McIntyre.
Jesus fucking Christ! How many matches have we gone? And now we're getting to this one.
So
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're at 7 out of.
we did more. We got 1, Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, Lesnar, Rollins, Women's Triple Threat, Cruiserweight, Triple H, Batista, Corbin, Shane, Miz, Orton. This is the 9th match we're talking about.
This is a 9th match. How many matches do you actually think are more important than this? Or feel more important anyway?
None. These are all the important matches that we just listed.
Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston is more important. The women's match is more important.
More important / also like a better build too.
You asked them a lot.
A lot of these aren't good.
That's my point. So it's like did we sandbag this thing by going on the list on Wiki, or do you think this thing is really only like the 4th or
well, I'm kind of jumping around now. So
okay, all right.
Because they have the battle royals listed and shit like that. So Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre. This is gonna be Roman Reigns' first match back from his first singles match back. Excuse me. Before somebody yells at their phone or wherever they're listening to this. Yes, I know he wrestled at Fastlane, but they've given Drew McIntyre the mega heel push leading up to this match. He's murdered Dean Ambrose multiple times on free television. And he
beat the WrestleMania title challenger.
Yes,
clean as a sheet.
Yeah, and they had him lose the music and shit. But
don't give me the distraction finish shit. No. That's not a. I mean, if you want to say that is not a clean win, all right, fine.
Well, it ain't help Seth. Let's say that.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's not a. I protected my baby face win. That's my baby face a fucking dumbass thing, and it makes your baby face look bad. Wait.
Didn't the same thing happen to him 2 years ago when he fought Sami Zayn before the Royal Rumble?
Hey,
yes.
Rich, didn't I bring that up the night it happened?
Yes, you did.
I didn't remember. I didn't forget that.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I said about man, this room or this Seth and Rock thing, it needs to have some type of change in dynamic, making him look bad again, and baby, when for some reason when Seth looks weak, he looks just
real weak.
Yeah. Anyway, but not back to the Roman Reigns thing. It's funny because we spent the whole time, or most of the time during the Seth and Lesnar build talking about other things other than the actual match, and now we're doing that with this one. It's interesting. So, I fucking hate this. I hate this build. I hate this thing of the need to have to build up McIntyre to be this big asshole that is unrealistic and unhuman and unrelatable in any way, shape, or form, and not actually anything that you would actually see any person actually be. And he's not even unlikable in the way that makes sense. He's just unlikable for the sake of being unlikable, which is okay, great, you're just a straw man. For me, a straw man heel. So
that man feel like Ivan Drago, the way he's just he's just soulless essentially.
But the thing about him being evil is he's on Rocky is the Russians are cold and unemotional, so that's the reason why he's evil. Why is McIntyre a dick? Because
he's still mad. He's still heated about 2012 when the
yeah.
Look. Then have him say that, or have him at least hint at that. They don't do none of that. They just have him come out there and just be evil for the sake of being evil. So I've hated this approach that he's had with wanting to fight Roman. Just if he had said something along the lines, it would have been a much better approach to say he's back. He's been getting a lot of love and support from the fans, but I hate these fans because I hate these fans, and I'm going to show you guys that he's not back to being the old Roman, and then whoop him because there's no way that he's fully recovered from his bout with fighting for his life just recently. That makes more sense than you're just gonna fight, but you're not. But I'm tougher than cancer, and I'm gonna show you at the pay-per-view on Sunday. Get the fuck out my face. So
can we please stop talking about his cancer? Let him be the one to talk about it. I'm sick of these wrestlers bringing it up. Look at Dean Ambrose. Look at Roman. He's gonna have to pay. God's making him pay for what he did. Like,
yes.
Wow.
Oh,
now we got McIntyre. Yeah. I'm tougher than cancer.
Yeah. And it's such a turn off because
they're milking this shit, bro.
And the thing is, like, look, man, I understand that it's a fake show and everything else, but the problem is, like, we know it's a fake show. So when you come out here and you say this kind of nonsense about somebody's real fucking cancer, it's really just, it pulls you out of trying to enjoy the show. It really does. So for me, it's like, whatever. They're two very talented guys. I hope they have a really good match and they get 12 minutes or so, and maybe even 15 minutes, and they could highlight like what this match could have been like if Roman had been healthy, if we had some restraint on these two guys that could be our two top guys from being wrestling in a match that's 6 or 7 from the top. But who knows? This may even just be a thing where like they're building them up, and then like Roman's just gonna mow through them like a hot knife through butter. Or cut through them like a hot knife through butter. So I don't know where they go with this. I've seen people say that they could do McIntyre beats him and then he becomes a challenger for the title. But my thing is like, we can't be out here being Roman Reigns in his first fucking match back.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
but then again, right? Look what happened last year to Roman. They have no qualms about doing dumb shit with Roman. Like we've seen it. We've seen it.
WrestleMania 34 was supposed to be his like crowning moment. I am the guy. I've beaten everybody. Now you want some? Come get some.
Well, the thing that happens with Roman Reigns is they get too cute for their own good. They try to outthink themselves rather than just accepting reality, what it was with him for a long time. Now,
wait, Rich, you think that him having a losing record in 2017 was being too cute? You sure about that?
Yes.
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like that's fucking stupid. Like
they're trying to like book to throw the scent off, but everybody knows the scent is still there because we know the destination. This is actually a good example of them like putting him in a match with a contemporary guy in his generation for the first time at WrestleMania, not going for the title, and that whole thing doesn't have that that claustrophobia essentially, and that fear monger Roman Reigns overlording the championship. Like it's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen whenever he goes to the belt. But him being in this other role now, it almost like shows you like there's a new energy around Roman Reigns right now. And I don't know how long they're going to have it. But it's clear, like, when you put him and Seth next to each other, Reigns is clearly above him. So I say you have Roman Reigns go over real strong here. You keep letting him go over real strong until, it's like, why isn't he, like, the champion or something like that? Like, and then, I don't know. Like, I and see how it goes having him, beat people.
Yeah, I don't think this is over. Like whatever happens in this match, I don't think this is over. I think they're going to continue a program for a few months. Like, I feel like they should be wrestling each other over and over and over, and then like start a new program, both of them, and move off in different directions, like at SummerSlam. Like that needs to be the thing. They need to go immediately into it where like Drew and Roman are having a fucking blood feud for the next 3 to 4 months. And then like they cut it off like the pay-per-view right before SummerSlam, and then call it in and move on to new directions from there. Because like there's really like you have to find something for Roman to do besides go straight back to the title, and you have to give him some time to do that. And I think that would be the cool thing. Like it'd be cool if like him and if the top program, because we always talk about like there's just a complete dearth of top level baby faces on SmackDown. If like the brand split happens, and they basically swap out AJ and Roman, and then they move Roman to SmackDown. They also move Drew to SmackDown, and like that's a top male feud for SmackDown. They actually have something like really, or that's the number 2 thing with Kofi there, and or whatever else. And, like that would be really cool. I would like to see that, but who knows what they do with the brand split? But like they gotta figure out something for him to do that would be, you know, high level, but not the title in the meantime, between time. And when Brock is the champion and not on TV, there is no belt on Raw. So then the focal point becomes about like, what is Roman doing? And then like, it's like, all right, so is Roman just biding his time until he like gets another title shot, or is he not in the picture? And it's like, let's just eliminate that. Let's just like move him away from Brock, get him the fuck away from Brock, as far as Brock's possible. Like, honestly, I'm thinking of all the people I want away from off of Raw and away from SmackDown. I'll be like, yeah, man, like let like Brock stay on Raw, and like literally the entire rest of the roster, men and women, all stay on SmackDown away from Brock. That dude's poisonous. Everything, nothing creative ever comes out of that shit. I just want everybody away from Brock. Period.
Yeah.
Sorry for going on that rant, but
no,
sorry.
That's all good, man. Yeah, so I'm going to take Roman Reigns to win. How about you guys?
Yeah, definitely. It's his first match back. He already took a loss last year for no reason. And plus, that means his singles WrestleMania record would be at 2-2. So, you know, gotta even that up.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I feel like James want to hit me with the y'all killing me with this shit meme right now.
They don't want to believe the truth. Oh man, so we got Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title. Poor Andrade not being on this match, but they did announce a Rey Mysterio versus Andrade match for this week on SmackDown.
What'd that mean?
No idea.
How many weeks in a row have they advertised something on SmackDown like before the show and then immediately like not do it?
Yeah, lots of time.
At least once a month this year.
No, it's felt like it's been done like 4 weeks in a row.
Literally, yeah.
Like last week, there's supposed to be the 4-way to determine who's gonna be Oscar's title challenger at WrestleMania. Didn't do that shit. The week before that, they said that like the Kofi Gauntlet match determine whether or not he gets the title shot at WrestleMania starts off the show. Nope, didn't do that shit. And I feel like there was 2 other things. Like from the 2 previous weeks from that too. So it's like, nah, man. Like I don't trust what they advertise. Like
yep.
Ray is supposedly supposed to be fighting a wrestling angle at Raw tomorrow. So who knows?
Samoa Joe about to come and snatch Rey Mysterio on SmackDown. I'm calling it right now.
Something's got to happen where Dominic gets involved. I don't know what. I don't think these 2 are going to get a ton of time to do their thing. I could see this going a smooth 7 minutes and go balls to the wall to whatever they want to do.
There's 2 people to have a match that long or that short and be good. It will definitely be these 2.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Joe. He just got the belt. He can kind of do something cool with it. You know, as I look down the card, like, you know, I picked Orton to win, picking Joe to win. That's kind of like where the heel wins are coming from.
Yeah, I'm picking Joe. There's no reason for Ray to win. They don't care. So, like, no, I mean, because honestly, like, I don't know, man. Because, like, honestly, these are 2 guys that they have no qualms about beating. they don't give them no bit of protection, no matter how well Joe does with promos and his programs, whatever else. They have no qualms about beating him. And Ray, like, they've done nothing but beat him. Yeah. Except for like when he first came back, like the first month. So I can see them just beating him, and like I feel like they might actually have a storyline for this with the Dominic factor, because like they ain't putting Dominic on TV not to get his ass whooped eventually.
Right. Eventually, you will wear the grease.
Oh man.
But yeah, I expect this match in the time that we have with it to be very good, because these are 2 all-time great wrestlers. So
yeah, and be Samoa Joe's first WrestleMania match. So
which is insane.
Yep.
We got Bobby Lashley and Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. We're assuming that the Demon will be showing up, which begs the question, why didn't he use the Demon at the Royal Rumble? But never mind that. They played a game of hot potato with this match. I could care less. I hope he shows up in a real cool variation of the Demon and squashes Lashley in under 3 minutes.
Exactly. I don't want to see the same paint that he's always wearing, and I definitely don't want to see the great pumpkin that we almost got.
Or do like a new color scheme or something. Like, I don't know.
Right. Rip off Spider-Man or something, bro.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this one, James?
What match were we talking about again?
Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley.
Okay, so I just had a thought. I want to say the other day about the Demon thing that you were just talking about. I'm sorry, I spaced out, but I remember you talking about the fact that like this idiot never puts on the paint. So I was thinking about like different stories or different works of fiction where there are people that have like special or supernatural powers or abilities or whatever else, and the way they rein that in as a storytelling device is that there's a weakness to it, where like say the comic book Spawn, where Spawn is this mercenary that gets double crossed by his agency, and it gets murdered, and he goes to hell, and he sells his soul to work for a demon, and he comes back to life, but he only has but so much. But he's going to basically be this hell spawn for this demon on Earth, and he gets you special powers to try to do whatever he needs to do. But like the cost of that is that there's only but so much. He only has but so much special ability he has before like the bar meter goes low, so he has a finite amount of time to do or energy to do certain things. Or Doctor Strange and some of the comic books where like there's a cost to the magic that he creates or whatever else. Like it would be cool if there was some type of cost to the Finn Balor supernatural or demon war paint, whatever the hell you want to call it. And the reason why, like, they explain, at least to be able to explain that, like, yes, he has his big face Joker always in his back pocket, but he never ever puts it on display except for like at the dumbest, most inopportune times. Like, yes, like he won't use it in the world. He won't use it for the Universal title match against Brock Lesnar, but he'll pull it out for SummerSlam against fucking against Baron Corbin, right? Like there would be at least you explain it as like, yeah, he didn't see the risk. He didn't want to take that risk. None of that. It's just like that's a dumbass, or there's no alter ego or anything like that. Where like one person just takes over and takes the wheel of the ship or the boat or the car, whatever you want to call it, at one time, and the other one is like just basically has a shotgun. One takes over and you can't control it. There's none of that. It's just like. It's just literally like, yeah, I just decided to be like supernatural today. Just felt like, you know,
just every so often, like, you know.
Yeah, so it's just like I can't.
He's corporate Kane with even worse motivations for becoming the demon.
But at least like they actually explain at certain times when like they were bringing out the demon or putting it back in or whatever else, and like. This is just like he's just there and he's smiling, whatever. Like I don't know why this is a WrestleMania match. I could care less. Like I'll pick Balor, and I would say like this would be so he can win his first IC title. But he won the IC title at that last pay-per-view or some shit like that, and then or 2 pay-per-views ago at Royal Rumble he won it, and then he lost it back, so he can win it again. So like they kind of bailed this situation up. So. It's like, all right, whatever. Like the match ain't gonna be good because it's Bobby Lashley. Whatever.
What a
like,
year. He's been back for a year now, and it's just like, yo, that was underwhelming.
Yeah, I think about all the talk over like the last decade about him leaving, and like he left because he was more injured, or they lost their enthusiasm behind him because he got hurt really bad or had some injuries, decided to take care of those injuries as opposed to like keep fighting through the push they were trying to give him at the time, and they were turned off by that. And then you get a decade later and he's back, and like you see what he's done this whole year, and you're just like, yo, All this talk about like he was the black WWE champion that never was. I'm not buying that shit. I mean, look, maybe there was something that was there a decade ago that's not there now. But if this was what was it, I don't know.
Yeah,
all I see is a physique.
I was watching it back then, and that's basically all it was. Bobby Lashley's best match was against John Cena at some pay-per-view in 2007.
Should have been Great American Bash, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good for what it was, but I was never that fan of Lashley like that. I don't really know anybody who has. Like, apparently, according to Caleb, he had a good match with Kurt Angle in TNA before.
I heard he had good matches as a heel, and he was just like monstrous ass kicker or whatever else. And like, look, that's TNA, and I'm sure Caleb and all the TNAites, in the words of Hulk Hogan, all the TNAites, I'm sure that's true. But it's just something about when you come to sterile ass WWE that has just it just
saps you of your ability for some reason.
You just lose all of your I don't want to say soul.
I won't say all. You lose like 30% of your soul. Like
you lose. Well, no, I don't want to use the word soul because that then comes into like
of your powers,
like selling out or whatever else. But
I
meant like as far as you lose a lot of edge when you go to WWE and you're basically working for this fucking conglomerate, and there's no problem, there's no shade on doing that. Like, get it how you live, right? But like, as far as like, you just lose a bit of edge and whatever factor you had, and like, they never even tried the whole he's an angry killer or whatever else, and like, that's not too dissimilar than what like McIntyre will be doing right now, right? But
it's like, why is he literally like not Brock?
I mean, that's scary. Maybe that's the thing. Like, they don't want to be like Brock Lesnar. Like, maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, if that's the case, move him to the other brand. Let him do it on that brand.
Yeah, there's lots of small guys there that can really go, and so the last match that's listed here before we get to the Battle Royals, which I will quickly run through, the Boston Hug Connection, Sasha Banks and Bayley defending the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Beth Phoenix and Natalya, the Iconics, and Nia Jax and Tamina. I could care less.
And this is not it.
Like, this is not what I thought these women's tag team titles was about to be.
When I heard that Divas of Doom wanted to come back, I was talking about later on down the line. I'm like, when Sasha Banks and Bayley have beaten a bunch of teams, this is a cool match. I'd like to see it like SummerSlam or something, when they've beaten most of the teams in the division. I was not talking about seeing this match this soon. And then when they decided to come back, I'm like, okay, fine. Let them have the little match at WrestleMania. They got put like a Hall of Famer and a future Hall of Famer, put them over. Cool.
Sasha and Bayley haven't defended the belts in NXT yet, as promised. Nothing. Like, it's just like, I guess this is their way to get like more like women on the card with like what are being looked at as actual stakes, like for the championships, which is cool. But it's like, yo, it's Nia Jax, it's Tamina,
I grew up in
it's the
era
Iconics.
When the WrestleManias I grew up on, I was used to not seeing everybody on the card, and it only made the show better. Like, I'm not here to see everybody get matches just so that everybody can get matches. Like, put the best matches you have on, the best storylines you got, and the storylines you want to tell, and then that's it. There's nothing intricate. There's no big story to come from this tag team match. It's just going to be Tamina and Nia Jax dominating, the Iconics doing corny heel stuff, the Divas of Doom dominating, trying to counteract Tamina and Nia Jax, and Banks and Bayley just doing what they've been always doing, just carrying the damn thing.
I think that is a great synopsis. James, any thoughts on this match?
Have you ever question? Have either one of you guys ever heard me say that I could not care less about a Bayley or a Sasha Banks match? Have either one of you ever heard me say those words out of my mouth?
No.
Okay, you're still not gonna hear that out of me today. I'm just not.
Swerve.
I'm indifferent. I'm just indifferent. Like, I'm more or less just like, okay, I hope that Sasha and Bailey and Natty and Beth can counterbalance the other four people in their shenanigans in this match. These other four wrestling nimrods, and make the best of it. Lemons out of lemonade, or lemonade out of lemons, right? I think I'll have them retaining. Like, this match would be so much better if it was just Divas of Doom versus Boston Hug, and we could have had a solid tag team match between four people that know what the hell they're doing. And they decided let's cut this shit with baby. Let's cut this shit with baby formula. So, whatever.
Unbelievable.
Hey, but we got a point. Hey, at least Nia Jax is getting paid. You know, the thing she keeps saying on Twitter every time she faces a critic.
Oh,
wait, what?
Man.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I'm saying, hey, I said, at least we know that Nia Jax is still getting paid for putting on bad matches. The thing she has to say every time she gets on Twitter when some goofball criticizes her.
That's what she says. That's her go-to, is I get paid?
Yes.
I mean, good for her. She keeps getting paid. Like, my
job, man.
I don't give a fuck. Like, I hope Vince pays you $5 million and not wrestle again. How about that? Like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't give a fuck how much you get paid or not to. It doesn't mean like you're good at this. Like, what?
Yeah.
Securing that bag.
These people, and they've been at it with the fans, like Gold Dust. Like, there's just been a lot lately. It's just like they clearly hate their audience. Like, so.
But I mean, we all know very well that, like, she gets. And just like any minority or any woman on Twitter that has any type of celebrity, like, there, or any woman, period. I ain't have to say with the celebrity thing, like, especially ones with celebrity status, like, they have some attention. Like,
yeah, Naomi's been in it all weekend.
Look, the shit they have to hear and read and see, or shit sent to them, or their interactions with people and communication with people, are so beyond the pale of fucking decency and reason. So, like, I get why people are on edge when they have to deal with bullshit they have to put up with, and that's unfair that they have to put up with that shit just because they were fortunate, or they have a set of skills or whatever else that allow them to have whatever notoriety they have. That sucks. I absolutely. But that don't mean that, like, you saying that, like, I stink at this thing that I'm doing and I still get paid as a comeback is like, I mean, look, man, you don't have to engage us. Like, just block them and move on with your day. Like, I mean, if you want to clown them and you want to dunk on them, cool, dunk on them, they assholes. But, like, if you're gonna dunk on them. Don't come out here and be a fucking, apparently, like, someone that has a string in their back and you just pull it and they just come out with a catchphrase.
Yeah. So
be creative with it.
So the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal participants. We got Braun Strowman. We've been through his history and his downfall several times. So we've got Braun Strowman sideline, Michael Che, and Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live here. We've got Apollo Crews, Titus O'Neil, Tyler Breeze, Jinder Mahal, No Way Jose, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, Kalisto, Grand Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, Heath Slater, Rhino, Victor, Connor, Andrade, Ali, Shelton Benjamin, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Otis, Tucker, and EC3.
I'm sorry, man. Everything you just said, I just heard the Charlie Brown noise. The Andre the Giant Memorial was like, yep.
Braun Strowman wins. The Women's Battle Royal. We've got Dana Brooke, Mickie James, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Asuka, Carmella, Naomi, who's been locked in Twitter wars all weekend with all types of people.
Because apparently it's such a terrible thing to comment about how nobody's getting an opportunity now because the company wants to book something at the last second.
Yeah. And lots of people telling her to quiet that noise, but, they don't always have that same energy.
Twitter accounts, mind you.
Yeah. We've got Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Zelina Vega, and Nikki Cross. Pick a winner. Out of this bunch, I'm assuming there's going to be some NXT women in there. Oh, man. He said, who's the blondes? Looks like we got Dana Brooke. We got Liv Morgan on that front. We've got Mandy Rose. I'm going to take Mandy.
Lacey Evans isn't in this match?
She's not listed, but she could be in it. It could be either Lacey or Mandy, easily. I'm going to go with Mandy, though.
I'm assuming Lacey's going to walk down to the ring and finally wrestle this time. To the delight of no one.
Remember the last Battle Royal she was in?
I know. That's going to be her go-to match. Roman ruins Rumbles, and so does Lacey.
You had to pick a winner, James. Who is it?
I'm sorry, man. I was during this conversation. I just was scrolling down my Twitter timeline, and I know we're at a point where like we're all exhausted doing just recapping this show. So imagine like how exhausted could be watching this whole fucking thing. But
yeah,
but yeah, I scrolled on my timeline and I see like that we were just talking about Nia and the bullshit she has to deal with, right? And Nia put out a video with her with her natural hair out, and we've all seen different Samoans or Asian Pacific Islanders when their hair is out, and we know that it's different or whatever else. That it looks like Afro or curly, whatever you want to call it. So, some woman replied to her on Twitter and said that she looks like an ape, a fucking ape. Are you like? I don't know what brings me on, like me going on my timeline and seeing these wrestlers' Twitter and the shit they have to interact with, or like the fact they have to watch like Vince McMahon's product, or if it's just a compare all both, or like they get shit because TV's bad, and then they have to defend themselves because they're getting personal attacks as opposed to people just shit on Vince or the product, and then like back and forth. I'm just all over all of this, and like going through like this show and talking about like how like the level of just lukewarm or no enthusiasm for the biggest show of the company of the year, and then like I have to see this, and then I see this, and it's like, yo, something's got to change.
Yeah,
something's got to change. The wrestling, the in-ring product is better than it's ever been in the company. The storylines are shit, or the shits. The people that they decide to push for whatever reason, or how they plan on roster positioning is shit. And people take their frustrations out on the wrestlers, and then the wrestlers have to come back and have to defend themselves in the face of their fucking humanity and their dignity. Being made light of or put into question, and like this whole experience is fucking exhausting as a wrestling fan. Like I'm just a person who's watches. Imagine being a person that's living this shit. I really, and this is another example. I just feel bad for like everybody that's involved with the company, aside from like the checks they cash. Like for some of these people, like the checks can't actually be worth it for all this travel, missing all this stuff and everything else to put up with this kind of shit. But yeah, man, I pick Lacey Evans' announcement, and I'll pick Lacey Evans.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like a lot of the discourse has like descended to this level of the tribal nature of it, for one, to the company being so objectively bad, where it's like they openly antagonize people on Twitter. Then, you've got folks that are on Twitter, as James mentioned, going at the wrestlers like in ways where it's like, take a look at Naomi's timeline this week.
I know that. I know. It's been for days now.
And it just like won't stop. Like, and I don't know if this is I don't know if this is a part of a new strategy where and this is like this overall thing that they've done since kind of like January, where they're doing the false advertisement, they're doing the breaking kayfabe, they're telling the wrestlers to use Twitter in a certain way. Like, I don't know if this is like a company directive, and this is WWE getting hit to the game on social media, but using it, it's like they can use it in a way for good, and this isn't it. This is just like they're creating toxicity. They're creating an environment like where Wrestlemania is coming, right? And looking at the card, like, it's not the best card in the world. It's not the worst card in the world. It's just like people used to feel a lot better about this stuff. than they do right now. And the company has no answers except the roster just keeps getting bigger. These people keep getting older, and Vince McMahon keeps going downhill and declining. And if you look at these storylines we went through, I don't think we were too enthusiastic about really anything except Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston. Everything else has either been weak, overcooked, or not worth it to even really discuss. So,
and the worst part about it is they're considering adding even more to this show.
Yeah, totally forgot to mention that. Yeah. So this isn't it. Like, this company is in, like, I feel like it's at a crossroads with a lot of people, and I'm one of them. And looking at the way some of this stuff is on the show, I don't know, like, if I can continue doing this. And I've talked about this, like, I've hinted around it, like, the last, like, month, just like, this is really bad. And it's like, it's not even where it needs to be booked for me, right? Where it needs to be like, oh, this person needs to win and all that stuff. In a couple of situations, yeah, it is, right? But just look at the people on these shows. Like, it's just like nothing ever changes. And
if you removed all the matches that clearly didn't need to be on this card, you would still have a show that's way too long.
Yeah, and it's just like the way they run this company is like not in tune with what I want as a wrestling fan anymore. It's not in tune with, like, you would think pro wrestling has been done
better question
for
is,
hundreds of years.
Better question is the way this show is run, or you look at this card and what they built over the last, let's say, 10 weeks between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania when it kicks off. Like, who is this for? Like, casual fans supposed to give a fuck about Baron Corbin and Angle? Because just, for any reason other than, it's Angle's last match, and I remember when he was awesome 12 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
The women's match is Ronda Rousey, cool. It's Brock Lesnar in a match against a guy that's been champion before, but like we haven't like tried to make him the man. He's not the man, but he's just a top guy. Cool. All right. Triple H versus Batista, that was cool 12 years ago. Or
14 years ago.
14 years ago. Yeah. Shane versus Miz. Who gives a fuck? AJ versus Orton. That been an awesome match a couple years ago. It might still be awesome, but it's a mid-card match. Samoa Joe before Joe broke down. Might still be good.
One more time on that one. You kind of roboted up on me.
Ray versus Joe. That's another match that could still be very good, but probably been better years ago. Probably would have been better years ago. Lashley versus Balor. Who could give a flying fuck? Roman versus McIntyre. Two contemporary guys that are like their position as top guys wrestling each other. Gee, that's almost as if like that's what WrestleMania is supposed to be all about. When's the last time we seen a match like that?
Been a minute. Feels
Kingston,
like it at least.
Bryan versus Kofi, the top of the show this year, and they completely lucked into it. And look, no harm against them for lucking into it, because that's what wrestling's supposed to be. It's supposed to be taking punches and working with it when things happen. And I commend them for doing this. But like, it is saying something that like the hottest thing you have going is some shit that you didn't even plan, and you had weeks to plan. Seth versus Rollins. You had weeks to plan the triple threat match at WrestleMania. You had weeks. You had weeks for all this other stuff too. Like the Roman thing, who knows when they knew he was coming back, whatever else. But let's just say that's shit that fell in their lap and it's extra. Like that's nothing that fell in their lap and they're taking advantage of it, right? Like it's just up and down this card. You just see like you just left lukewarm. Like it is what it is. Like, you know, I'm sure
like
they're
it's
going to
designed for you not to care. Like,
I'm sure they're going to be matches on this card that are going to exceed my expectations. I'll say those are pleasant surprises, and I'm sure there'll be a couple things on here that don't live with the expectations set forth based off the TV or people's reputations, and that's going to suck too. But overall, like, you look at these 14 matches, and you're just like,
this looks like a long show.
Like, it's the 3-match show for me. 3-match show. As far as things I really, really want to see.
To be perfectly honest.
I'm sorry, 2-match show. Sorry about that. 2-match show.
Man, the last WrestleMania, I remember just being overly excited for. There are two in recent memory that stick out to me. One was in 2012 because I was just that big of a fan of The Rock and John Cena. On top of the program that was set up with Chris Jericho and CM Punk, on top of the continuation of the program between Triple H and Undertaker, and they managed to work Shawn Michaels into it in a perfect role. And then there's WrestleMania 30, where Daniel Bryan is just at his popularity is at the zenith. He's getting this opportunity against Triple H, and he's getting the opportunity at the title or at least it's set up. You also got what else happened on that show? Yeah, I think that might have been it.
John Cena and Bray Wyatt, Undertaker and Brock.
The show was,
yeah,
like the storyline was that resonated with fans that much, and it was something to look forward to. And then WrestleMania 31 was a generic, god awful build that lucked into one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. WrestleMania 2, nobody even talks about, except for the fact that it was awful.
32, yeah.
WrestleMania 33 had all the wrestlers in place to have an all-time great card, has a mediocre show at best. WrestleMania 34, on paper, is supposed to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time. In execution, when all was said and done, it was underwhelming. So, and right now, looking at WrestleMania 35, on paper, this show looks the same way to me that WrestleMania 29 did. I've been making that joke for months, and to see it actually become a reality is quite frankly pathetic.
Yeah, I hope they surprise us. I hope they give us something like, and they say hope's a dangerous thing, like Andy Dufresne and Red and the fucking Shawshank. But I'm going to hope it works out. But if it doesn't,
yeah, if this thing comes through, this is like WrestleMania 31 all over again, where it's like, yo, this build was not, like, don't let nobody fool you. Like, the reason why, like, people, you know, praise WrestleMania 31 was, like, how far that thing outkicked its coverage as far as the build. And, like, the same thing happened to Evolution last year, where, like, we were just like, yo, we're weeks out. We're only a couple weeks out. We're a week out. What the fuck is this card looking like? And then they go out there and have a pay-per-view of the year. So, you know, it's just proof that, like, they can always decide to just, you know, have a kick-ass show.
Yeah.
It's not independent on the build for why shows kick ass or not. It comes down to the man the man is sitting in gorilla with the chair and the headpiece in, whether or not he's going to fuck us or not as fans. So hopefully he decides, let's have a show that we have a bunch of matches. We have a bunch of talented people. They are in positions to put that talent to some good use. Let's make use of the men and women we have on the roster and on this card to actually give the fans and people around the world what they want to see and give them reason to actually want to watch more of our product. And if not, we're going to get what we've been getting, and what we've been getting over the last 10 weeks has been a lot left to be desired. So hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully they decide to come through and have a good show on their biggest show of the year. Just you know, maybe, just maybe.
But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for your WrestleMania preview. Thank you guys for doing this show here today with me, Simon and James, as well as you guys were listening to this show. We will be in New York. We will not be at WrestleMania. We will be at Suplex Mania at the Hooters on 33rd, watching it and all that. So luckily we'll have some food and beverages to help with the situation. But we're going to see a bunch of great wrestling this week, James. I can't wait for Will Ospreay versus Bandito. I can't wait to see Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi. Can't wait to see Okada for the first time in person. Can't wait for NXT TakeOver. I think, that's going to be an incredible show. But, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of great wrestling this week. It just ain't on Sunday.
No, it could be. It could absolutely be on Sunday. It just comes down to it just comes down to the whims of a 73, 74-year-old crazy old guy.
Yeah. Simon, you got anything to add before we get up out of here today, man?
I'm definitely looking forward to watching G1 Supercard and NXT TakeOver, and there's a few other things that have piqued my interest from some of the other shows that are taking place. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch them because, of course, I won't be going to New York this year. I do plan on participating in next year's WrestleMania weekend when I come visit you guys in Florida.
Oh, you coming down, huh?
I'm trying to make plans for that right now. I'm curious about this one.
Okay.
So I look forward to WrestleMania weekend. Mostly because I like seeing just people just enjoying wrestling, and it used to be one of the times where I could just not be as critical, but to see what it's become right now, like I said, it's okay. I really hope they surprise us. And meanwhile, you can follow me on Twitter at SGC Speaks.
Twitter taking off.
Yep, I'm right for Sports Kita, and I'm currently working on an article or focusing on some of the best women's matches in WrestleMania history. So I did a small Twitter thread about it, and boy, them first few years was rough.
Understatement.
For all the people who didn't grow up watching the Attitude Era, whatever they say about women's wrestling in the Attitude Era, that shit happened.
Oh, as far as being terrible and awful and sexist and just the worst. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
wrestling.
It's almost as if the people in charge and the head writer hated women, almost, right?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. James, anything to add before we wrap this shit up?
Yeah, man. For those listening or whatever else that listened to this or made it through in this preview and take it as if you have joy that you don't hear come out of if you contain the joy that you don't hear from me or Rich or Simon, if you have that in a way that you don't hear out of our voices, don't let us discourage you or don't let us ruin your joy. If there are matches on here that you are looking forward to seeing, don't let our opinion on how crazy or convoluted or the circuitous route that was ran to get to this point kill your joy. We're just looking at it from this fact that we too were at one point enthused about whatever they came up with, and then in the course of the build towards whatever else, we were checked out because of one reason or another. But if you're into it, look, more power to you. I actually envy you, but it's the biggest show, and if you're up for it and you're fired up for it in anticipation, I'm glad you are, and I hope that the show comes through and is great. I never want to feel like my time was wasted watching something. So I'm sitting here just hoping against hope, but in my mind, I'm just sitting here thinking I don't know, but I still have that hope and wish that this thing is great, and ultimately that's regardless of how bad I feel about the product, whatever else. I know that eventually or at some point, the clock's gonna be right twice a day. So hopefully this is one of those times. So it's WrestleMania, and I'm not that enthused about it compared to previous years, but they can always pull through and come through in the clutch. Then here's the hope that happens.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for listening. We are up out of here. Peace.
Later.
Thank you for listening to One Nation
Yeah.
Radio. We'll see you next time.